Welcome to the Sage CRM Sales Accreditation course. You're currently viewing Sage CRM Sales Accreditation at Level 2, and this is Module 5. This syllabus is designed for candidates taking the accredited Sage CRM Sales Level 2 and builds upon the Level 1 qualification. Delegates will gain knowledge of the Sage CRM proposition, its applicability to a specific business requirement, and demonstrate the competence to meet the overall project need of the prospect. For this fifth module, that is module number 5 of this accreditation level 2, these are the topics we will be covering. Each topic has a video between 15 and 25 minutes in duration, and each topic contains the information to build competence and confidence for people in marketing, sales, and implementation roles. Once you've completed each topic and then the module, you will know how to ask and question for the thinking and business requirements of any prospect, how to quantify the business value from the Sage's solution feature and then relate it to a specific business need, and to reflect back the value expected from the solution in measurable terms that matter to a prospect. Once you've completed all the topics, you'll be required to sit an exam, that is if you want to gain certification, for the entire module. We are now beginning the third topic of the fifth module of Sage CRM Sales Accreditation Level 2. This topic contains information specifically on how to present the business value of CRM within a specific business. There'll be questions about this topic in the exam. So let's make a start. How to present the business value of CRM within a specific business. Recall our general questioning, and building upon the idea of increasing revenue, avoiding cost, and improving service, remember the general themes you could talk to for any business, themes that talk of growth, innovation, transformation, and reducing cost. These are great jumping-off points for top-level strategic conversations. We also spoke of using this one-pager to support those jumping-off questions. The jumping-off points, as we discussed in previous topics, help you start that conversation and, importantly, to assess where to position your questions and make the most compelling case to your stakeholders. Your questioning should have uncovered and documented measurable benefits that you then built into a one-page statement, a powerful one-slide, one-page business case canvas that provides critical information quickly. This is the elevator pitch, the high-level, concise, easy-to-understand, visual one-page slide that explains your proposition to the prospect. Remember, our typical buyer in the small and medium space is an MD or business owner who wants relevant information with business benefits plus the overview of cost and how it will be delivered quickly and simply. How do you expand on this one-page canvas so as to present a proposal? It explains how you plan on taking those statements of returns, the promises, into a more formal sales proposal or indeed a statement of work. I should pause at this point and say that, depending on your client, just maybe this one page is enough, which is great news. You've created in the prospect's mind a belief that their issues should and can be solved, and that you have the competence as a business to help them engineer that solution. Congratulations, if so. However, it's my belief you still need to produce a proposal that builds out these 3 circles. It serves to deepen the message, particularly in the top left circle, around stakeholders and resource, and the bottom circle, your own value proposition. And I think at some point you need to take the canvas into some sort of formal sales proposal to provide not only the guidance on cost and that sort of thing, but how the project will run. Let's look at how we do that. How do we take that canvas into a larger piece? How you choose to physically present this section depends very much on you and your company. Maybe it's on paper, maybe it's a presentation, perhaps it's a combination of both, perhaps it's 2 pages. You need to be sure to include the 3 sections that we spoke of earlier and are shown in the top left corner as it continues the narrative of the business case canvas and remains coherent and shows how you are following through on your project and sales approach. What should you be getting across in each of these sections? The software and services, the key success factors, the resources required, the stakeholders, the cost structure. Let's take these apart one by one. Let's further develop the product section here. There's the software and the services. Of course, license pricing, the service days should go in here. But be sure and use something from the community as well. Perhaps the Sage CRM overview presentation is good to go in here, reminding people about the particular pieces of the product that you're proposing. So perhaps you pull out a piece on the sales proposition or the service proposition, perhaps a little story of the features you're expecting to deliver and why they matter to this business. There's also, on the community again, the selling guide to help business partners, people such as you, or indeed operating company employees, to highlight outstanding values and then also explain how the robust product will help them succeed. We've got a range of supporting documents that will help you further communicate the value and also assist in thinking about whether you need to use more of this material as you go through developing your proposal. There's, of course, too, the messaging guides for the releases. Useful things in there, particularly around new releases where we release new features that you might want to pull out, as well as the additional general proposition material. Let's have a look at the success factors, the key success factors. Again, material on the community to help you speak about that. That's important. But most importantly, you need to use material that reflects the questioning of their own company, their needs, their pain points. Do use some of the guides that are up there about how to demo, what to show, how to talk about significant value. Moving on to the resources required section. A successful CRM project is usually more about the execution of the project itself, not just how good the software is. And more often than not, it's people and the time they put into a project that makes the project a success. That is time invested up front. Speaking of issues, identifying areas for improvement, that sort of thing. It's also time during, engaging in design reviews perhaps, testing the functionality, and it's time afterwards too, reviewing the outcome against the brief, testing reports that do what they're supposed to do. People as resources are perhaps the most critical piece of any project, so proper identification and management of these resources form the backbone of success. It's the who, the what, the how much, and you must be managing that from the very, very beginning. As part of your sales proposal, I do suggest you need to have an element of project approach spoken about that speaks to these critical needs of resources and time, the roles that are to be played, who should be playing, the expectation. So this is a good place to begin to show, at least in part, the sort of formal documentation, taking the ideas from the business one-page canvas into the more formal statement of work. And examples in your proposal, shown on the screen here, how you manage your methodology, is a useful thing to include. It also explains how you bring together business and technical documentation. Stakeholders. Now, this slide and the concept of stakeholders is closely related to the previous slide about resources, but with one important difference. This is where stakeholders should be engaged with more particularly on their needs and their expected returns, essentially stating the business case as it relates to them and getting them on board. So this is a good place to show or explain how you will use your more formal project documentation, perhaps in this case shown on the screen, a business case objectives tracker, to then make the stakeholders comfortable with the way you will interact with them to develop, uncover, fulfill what they want from the system. Very much a way of managing the what's in it for me, so that they further see you as that trusted advisor to help them to get what they want from the system. This document, among many other things, is available on the community as well. It's in the Business Partner Sales Tools area. Talking about cost structure, what you should be getting across in this section? Well, obviously the cost of licenses and services, but also how your approach to business benefits delivers business return above and beyond the cost of investment in days and software, and in a period that is acceptable to the buyer. This is where you can expand the business canvas return on investment piece. You remind your prospects how you spent the time to question the analysis of cost and return, and then using something like the document shown here, you can, if necessary, explain with extended working how those questions have gone into developing the return on investment, formalizing costs and returns. This is something showing on the screen that is based on a third-party company that we've used that is meant to get across best practice approach and drive out actual numbers based on things like hourly rates, amount of time to complete things, and so forth. It's a great way of getting those ROI calculations embedded into the sales proposal. There are other tools as well, additional material on the community that can support similar efforts. So there are other ways of talking about financial returns, such as customer lifetime value, total cost of ownership, and more. Crucially, too, I feel this is a very important place to bring out project management, in fact, as early as possible, because you are setting out your stall when it comes to the full project cost. Prospects need to understand that successful CRM requires investment and professionalism, and cutting corners, that is maybe not doing some of the steps or discounting fees, maybe cutting day rates, could lead potentially to a less than expected business return as previously pitched on the business case canvas. If you've done your measurable business case canvas pitch well enough, any subsequent discussions about reducing project costs should become discussions about reducing project scope and not discounting rates. Let's move now to the market section, where we talked about problem definition, we talked about customer segments, we talked about existing alternatives, the ROI piece. Let's further develop that section now. This is an excellent place to show or explain how you will use your formal documentation to take the business needs from the canvas into a statement of work and then into a series of prioritized project objectives. Here, shown on the screen, is just a sample of a project objective sheet, which is capturing at different strategic levels, management, project, system, etc., the business and technical objectives, also prioritizing them against measurable benefit and importance to stakeholders. Now, this is one sample. It's available on the community. It might work for you, it might not, but certainly work with the concepts of prioritizing objectives and lining them up with stakeholder returns. It's a very powerful way of outlining, explaining how business and technical documentation works together to achieve a successful project conclusion and tracking back to the original sales proposal objectives. It's also a very good way for prospects to continually evaluate priorities amongst themselves as the project evolves. And another good way to reflect on the project at the end. Did we achieve the priorities? Are they the same as what we started with? How have they crossed over different stakeholder groups? What have we learned? What would we do in the next phases? And so on. Let's look at customer segments. This is really making sure you focus your proposal not only on the benefit to the prospect's internal business and internal pains, but how it's going to make them outwardly successful as well. For example, making the customer process X% more efficient, or that will lead to us perhaps retaining 5% more customers every year, or maybe the turnaround time for customer service is 5 minutes faster, etc. And really, you should aim to tie this back into your top-level discussions around the value, the growth, reduced costs, innovation, transformation discussions that you've had with your CEO or business owner. It's important to remind people at the beginning and throughout the project about what they had and what they're trying to get from the system. And we, I think, occasionally forget sometimes even the smallest things are amazing step changes. Just having every piece of data in a company in one place is a revelation as part of a project. And we should occasionally stop, remind everybody of what this is all about and what we've achieved. It's that celebrating success. And you can use the original canvas to help benchmark and also remind people of where they came from. Let's look at existing alternatives, and this is sort of linked to the previous slide as well. This is another way of restating the problem definition, but with a view to remind stakeholders about what they had and potentially how poor they were at supporting their business and their business strategy. It's a good way to expand and bring out the original business canvas, so you can take the information you captured during the discovery or the analysis phase, frame it up in terms of cost and returns, and then, if necessary, you can use third-party tools, of which here is an example of one, to build out a stronger financial analysis piece to really drill down and provide proper return on investment material. This is an example of something taken from a company called Nucleus, a great way of reminding as well customers that cutting corners, as we spoke of earlier, may lead to them not achieving the business benefit. And you can use real numbers here to actually focus that discussion. And finally, looking at the business value ROI. Well, To me, as part of the sales proposal itself we're looking to build upon here, this is the beginning of the conclusion, if you like. It's rounding up the issues, stating the problems, the current state of affairs, then selling the value, and in particular, talking about the return on investment, driving home the message about why ROI is such an important thing to focus on. It's so important. IT decisions are less about technology and much more about business capabilities that the technology makes possible. It's their potential to bring speed, efficiency, innovation, and return on investment offers a strong way to represent those ideas. I know sometimes it can be difficult, but this makes a very strong case both in the pitch stage, but also flowing right through the proposal and into the project itself. Always focus on those measurable objectives. Looking, as we draw to a close on this section, at the USP section, you'll remember the unique service proposition or sales proposition is all around that compelling message about you, why your company, and should be made up of things like executive summaries, etc. Let's further develop those and talk about what you might put in there. The compelling message via the executive summary, I think, is a great way to do that. This is essentially the call to action. It's linking the strategic change, the measurable return, the things you're going to do, the way you're going to run the project, into that why you and why Sage CRM together will make the change happen. So it's that compelling story that rounds up your document. And it lets you bring to life your trusted advisor story. Examples perhaps of where you've done this before for other customers in meeting strategic goals, so sort of case studies but framed in the business benefit terms. Talking in those 4 dimensions of innovation, transformation, cost avoidance, and so on. For me, to my mind, a good, compelling USP section is the summary that brings it all together. So you've now reached the end of the 3rd topic of the 5th module. This topic was all about how to present the business value of CRM within a specific business. There will be questions about this topic in the exam for the module. Once you've completed all the topics in the module, you can sit the corresponding exam if you wish to gain certification and gain credits for this module.